Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Tinashe Chaponda. I am the co-host of the Done Deal Show and also the CEO and founder of Sasani Studios, which we are an influencer marketing agency.
Hi everyone, welcome in the Done Deal podcast show. I'm Tonje Bakang, co-host of the show, but also the CEO of OnScale. OnScale is the CRM and collaboration tool for talent managers, and will help you pitch brands, manage your roster, and just make more money. And today we're so excited because we have a guest of honor. And Tinashe, please introduce our guest.
Oh yeah, this one we've been really excited to have you on the show, Travis. Yeah, especially because we've known each other now for I think a year's coming up here in the next couple of months here.
Yes, sir.
Yes, it is. So, Travis, I'd like for you to give yourself, an introduction of yourself and everything.
So I'm doing the kind of dual founder thing. So my name is Travis Montaque, co-founder and CEO of Group Black. Group Black is the largest collective of Black-owned media, an investment group focused on the advancement of Black-owned media. And I'm also the founder and CEO of Creator, which is a network for creators that ultimately helps creators build their business, earn, and grow their network. So really excited to be here. Thank you guys for inviting me. And hopefully I could say a thing or two that is useful.
Of course.
For sure. So, my background is tech, and in the previous life, I created AfroStream. It was the Netflix of Black content. I raised capital from Silicon Valley, from some Hollywood studios. But when I look at what you've been able to accomplish, convince mega brands, global brands to trust you with their budget and the people you've been able to bring together within your company. Tell me how you've been able to, launch such a huge project, such a huge company when a lot of people fail to accomplish something similar.
So I start with Group Black and then I'll get to Creator. I think one of the things, and this goes with any company that I start, I ask myself the question, why does this business need to exist? Right? And when you ask yourself that question, it starts to guide the actions that you and the company take and the way it's positioned. And so when I started Group Black, it was very simple. It was based off the insight that 0.5% of Black-owned media dollars from an advertising perspective was going, 0.5% of advertising dollars were going to Black-owned media companies. That's the zero, right? And so that cannot be the case when the Black-owned media companies impact culture in the way that it does. And so we needed to build a vehicle that changed. And in our first year, because of that positioning, because we wanted to change investment in media, that enabled us to close $500 million in deals with agencies and brands to invest in this community. And so that was Group Black's reason to exist. We've done a lot in the space to help Black-owned media companies drive revenue, build awareness, show the power of culture and the power of the community to drive business performance and growth. And for those reasons, that's why we continue to be able to have the type of credibility with brands, have the type of relationships with broader constituents in the ecosystem to drive the overall objective and mission. And so that's kind of been the core story at Group Black. And every single time we have shown up anywhere, it's really about making sure that the world understands our role in the conversation around how we are ensuring that more dollars are moving in the pocket of the community. So that's the first and foremost thing. On the creator side, it's that we identified some of the same issues that impact Black-owned media companies that impact creators. Creators have, in many different areas, been exploited by whether it's brands or different types of ways, and they have not been able to receive appropriate value for the level of value that they bring, right? And so for us, it's been, how do we, again, given what we've done before, how do we create a business, a platform, a network, a community, albeit with a different strategy to right size the value exchange for this community as well? And so I think, it goes back to building a business at its core has a very specific purpose. It needs to exist for a group of individuals. And that's just what we do. And we're seeing the same progress that we've seen at Group Black with respect to our impact. We're fast seeing that same type of progress with creators. And I'm excited to continue to do more.
It's very interesting because with Creator, You mentioned the fact that Black influencers, Black creators were not like paid what we should be paid, right? And it's very similar to
Mhm.
what happened with Black-owned media, because ultimately, a Black influencer, he's his own media, and and
Yep.
and so that's why you have the same behaviors when it comes to the people who should invest in Black media, or pay creators right what we should be paid. One thing I'm interested in is on the creator network, how do we ensure that a creator would be able to negotiate or learn how to value itself? Because we work with talent managers, and usually it's the role of a talent manager or an agent to rep the creator, to show to the brand the value and make sure they pay. Can you tell us more how it works with a creator?
So a couple of things. So you're absolutely right. Black creators make less than their counterparts. 35% is that on average is the number, which is insane. And the reason why that's insane is because we just completed a study with Nielsen to understand what is the impact that Black creators have compared to their counterparts, right? With respect to driving business performance. And in some cases, the average impact was 10.5 times more impact.
Oh, wow.
And this is an independent study that we commissioned with Nielsen. And so what does that say to you? A cohort of creators that have 35% are being paid 35% less have been proven to deliver 10.5 times the value, right? We need to talk about that. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is at Creator, we often see that the posture, and it's interesting, Black owned media companies had the same issue, right? Which is massively underpaid for the value of their inventory. And you're seeing that in the creator space as well. And so one of the things that we seek to do is when we're negotiating and then bringing brand opportunities to creators at Creator, we make sure that we are explaining to brands that we understand, we know what the appropriate compensation level is, and we actually advocate on behalf of creators. We have our core tagline at Creator is creator puts creators first. Right. And so when there's a dispute between price, we don't, our first we don't go to the creator and say, we need you to lower their price first. Our first posture is to go to the brand and say, this is why this creator needs to be appropriately paid. And as we think about how we scale our impact at Creator, one of the things that we think that one of our ambitions from our platform is to be able to provide more pay transparency across the board. And so that talent managers have the ability to understand the dynamic of the kind of economic circumstances that are being felt by other types of creators. Therefore, they have a stronger ability to negotiate with that knowledge. I think the biggest problem today in this kind of talent manager creator space right now is there's not a lot of transparency. And so it's really hard to understand, like if you're asking for the appropriate amount of compensation for the work that you're doing, and that this is one of the ways that one of the things that we want to do is change that. But transparency is
Yeah.
expected here.
And I'm interested too, because, you talk about impact, and something we notice a lot with talent managers is, especially the ones with this diverse roster, trying to showcase, like, for example, take like the Nene twins, right? From all the way back then, all these different creators that are creating these cultural trends, is what Black creators having that 10x impact, break down what other things they should be understanding on a brand side that they want to hear, right? So let's define what are those impacts that talent managers need to be able to break down for brands to understand the value of them.
There's a lot of the kind of core things that brands are looking for. So they're looking for, from a just pure base measurement perspective, they're looking for things like reach and frequency is kind of like a big brand thing, right? And so you need to understand, like, did we deliver the impressions, right? Did we deliver the impressions of whatever we're saying, and how efficient was it to do it? So if you are a creator that when you post, it gets a lot of reach and engagement, and you don't have to amplify with paid media a lot, then the effective CPM this is just pure looking at this from a media perspective. And I start there because, like, that's the first thing when you're doing the contract that everybody asks, right? How many impressions? Right? So there's there's that reach and frequency issue that you have to do. And like the effect that the efficiency of the CPM. So they're saying, did I get the impressions that I wanted at a reasonable rate? That's the first thing. Then I have to measure. So is there recall? Is there lift? Is there some of those kind of more higher level brand awareness kind of measures that you're used to seeing in kind of more traditional media models? And by the way, if we expect brands scale investment, we have to answer those questions, right? Because at the end of the day, I need to know how much toilet paper moved off the shelf, right? Or like, did somebody remember me more?
You need also this information from the brand. You need the brand to be transparent enough to, after the campaign, tell you what impact you had. Otherwise, you will never know how many toilet papers were bought.
There is measurement. So, for example, one of the things that we built at Group Black is all of the measurement kind of suite to make sure that we are able to help brands understand what did their investment into Black-owned media or with our diverse creators do. And so we formed relationships with all the biggest kind of measurement companies out there to be able to help brands understand that, so that we have repeat buys from them. And so I have a measurement team that just does measurement. And so when a creator is executing an initiative with Creator, we bring in our measurement teams at Group Black that also measure the initiatives, and therefore we could put the creator in the best position to be able to win more business again. So these are all of the types of things that is important to understand what the brand is looking for. The other thing that we push for is, I think creators and talent managers need to be more consultative to brands. The other way around as well. What do I mean by that? Tell the brand what doesn't work, right? Just tell them you just got to let them know, right? Because then you get a brief. You're like, we're going to do it, even though we know that it's going to be awkward or not right for the creator you're managing, or the creator for their audience. And then when it doesn't perform the way that everybody wants it to, everybody hates it. The audience hates it. The creator hates it. The brand hates it. So there's an important aspect of making sure that you're very transparent in the beginning. And that's what makes you a trusted partner overall.
I think Travis, there's that, but for Black talent managers and Black creators, it's also their inability to say no. You need to have a lot of confidence to say no to a brand, to say no to a paid opportunity. And so what happened often is the client say yes because they're happy to have the opportunity. And while executing the brand deal, then they realize that they're in trouble. And ultimately, the result is not paying off, neither for the brand, the creator, or the talent manager. So I think some people are confident enough, but I almost feel like maybe Group Black or Creator should host workshops, and training lesson to help people, because we can look at all the solutions and all the checklist that people what they should do, but then they have to do it, right? Mm-hmm. And when you're in the context of negotiating a deal and you don't have self-confidence, it's hard to deliver.
It's interesting. I love that you said that, because it's one of the things that we've been thinking about, what is creators' role, right? So one thing we're doing is we're getting brand deals, right? But another thing that we think is important for us is that creators helping give the tools and the community and we want to create an ecosystem for creators and talent managers to be able to execute, because there's only so much of us at Creator. Right. That's it. And so, giving the tools is to be able to scale up the efforts on that each individual talent manager or creator is doing and build a strong business. And what you're saying is that the ability for Black creators, Black talent managers to say no, is a real one, right? So I remember I'll give you a story. When I first started Group Black, I went out and I said, there's not enough dollars being invested in Black-owned media. You committed 30 billion or some large number like that. There's less than $2 billion that exists. We built a community that we're going to move these dollars into. And they said, yes, we love it. we'll give you $2 million. It's like, you
What?
just said, I'm sorry. Like,
Like, wait a
sorry,
minute, wait. Yeah.
right? It's, I'm
Numbers not adding
sorry.
up. Yeah.
I was like, well, we talked about how are we ever, I was like, it's going to be a long journey if we're getting there at $2 million at a time. I said 100 million. They're like, you crazy? Like 5 million. I said 100 million. He said 10 million. I said 100 million. They said 25 million. I said 100 million. They said 75 million. I said, okay. Right. And that is just an example. And the important lesson there is it's not that companies don't have the wherewithal. They're testing yours. Right. And so you have to be able to understand deeply what is the size of the pot, right? What are we going after and where we are today? We only are going to be able to hit that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10%, right? If we're asking for things that make sense in line with the real actual size of the opportunity.
Mm.
And so the more that we could educate the community around, specifically Black entrepreneurs, Black creators, Black talent, everybody, on what is actually out there and what the size of the pie is, then I think it'll give everyone more tools to be able to advance the ball and ask for the right things. But that is a big part of it. It's very important.
Yeah, and I'll definitely say, Travis. So it's like society, right? We started like we're also a COVID agency, so COVID happens, everything shuts
Don't
down.
say that. Don't say COVID agency.
I mean,
No,
it's
this is
true.
bad.
A lot flourished, a lot flourished. during that
Real Black was a COVID business. Bro. Bro,
right?
Don't say that. Don't say that.
I'll take that back. Good.
Y'all just take it back. You take it back. But you see how, like, I think it's interesting because I've been having a lot of conversation with these other influencer agencies and CEOs where I think, like, the great thing about these short form and TikTok and all these platforms, kind of swaying and advancing the creator economy, created more opportunities. But it also, I think, brought people that never had the opportunity the first time in this not necessarily realistic environment, right? Where everyone was spending a lot, like during that time. So you saw in the TikTok area where we were just getting, like, the deals were insane, right? The prices, and then you see like year 2, brands get smarter. They're starting to realize, okay, where's the value, where is it not? Platforms like TikTok having to readjust and build more trust. It's interesting because you see like year 3, a lot of conversation is, how are you pivoting what you were maybe offering, 2-3 years ago to what people need now? So it's interesting you bring that up because I think that is also the conversation of, like, not necessarily comparing year to year, but more like what you're saying is, why do we still belong? Not why, did we start, but kind of like where the future is going to. So when you look at that aspect of the future, what are those key things that you're noticing are helping the future successful creators in terms of components of, because we see you hang out, have a lot of conversation, you're at different conferences with a lot of different creators. So what are the components you're noticing, like, these creators are the good ones that have a stronger future than, let's say, back in the Vine era or the first initial Instagram era?
I'll talk about like Black creators and I'll talk about creators at large. So like one of the things I always say is you can't just be Black, you have to be better. And so if you want to have sustainable investment for the long term, you got to have I'm here to win and here to grow and here, like, attitude, right? Like that's the first thing. But what I think I see here is what's really exciting to me actually is I'm seeing creators step out of being just like thinking of themselves as just a person that is posting a video that's a couple seconds or whatever, right? But really understanding that the role that they have with their audiences, the influence that they have, and thinking about themselves as a business and a media company writ large. And what I mean by that is they start to present opportunities that are bigger and more creative and more lucrative, quite candidly, for themselves. That is exactly what the brand wants, right? Like, brands actually don't want to just say, I want you to post my soda can. That's not really what they actually want. They're trying to figure out how to be relevant to a large body of people. And you figured that out. So you help me figure out, how do I integrate seamlessly into your community, right? Like, that's what they're really trying to achieve. And but sometimes it's just awkward to be candidly. Like when
So
they
they're buying creative and media. So like an influencer is providing two services, not one,
exactly.
two.
Exactly. And in many cases, like that, usually you have the media distribution platform and then there's content creators, right? But like this is you're kind of like having to drive both. Now, I just believe like what I'm banking on personally is that the creators are going to be the most significant media companies, drivers of the future. And so when I think about how we build infrastructure around them, it's like if creator A was a media company, what do the media companies need? They need distribution capabilities, they need business capabilities, they need networks, they need capital, they need all these things, right? And so how do we make sure that we're positioning ourselves to be able to provide the things that the media companies of the future are going to need? If you look at 13 to 17-year-olds, 59% of all the content that they consume on average is produced by creators, right? That number is 36 for the generation up. So the direction is clear, right? Like where content consumption is going. And the creators who realize that are the ones who are treating not just like, creating for clout, but creating because it's a real enterprise. Those are the kind of changes in behaviors that I'm seeing that are really interesting to me.
Yeah, like totally share your vision because at OnScale, we decided to build infrastructure around talent managers because if you have more and more creators, like making like huge income and like creating products, you need like a business person, that help like smooth things around. But I realized when it comes to talent managers that providing the platform was not enough. You had to build a community. So at OnScale, we host community events in LA, New York. Last week I was in London. In 2 weeks I've been in Cannes. And during those events, first the participants share insights, but we also provide education. And I think the reason why I didn't build OnScale for creators right away is I realized that some of them don't have the education and the knowledge to become great entrepreneurs. Not yet. At least I didn't feel like it was my role to provide this knowledge to them. Can you talk about what you envision when it comes to education for creators?
One of the first things, we had is, so we've been in our lab developing tech products that are like, we're designing to try to solve different things here. So one of the things that we had as a kind of thought around this was not all creators want to be business people, right? Just like, I mean,
Just like louder.
like, I mean, it's just don't, right? Like that's not, like it's just not. I mean, I have an animation studio, right? And these are animators and creatives and stuff like that. And I see like the way their eyes glaze over, like when I'm trying to talk to them about like, but we need to kind of make money here. So, it's just like, no, but like, look how much, what I'm saying? It's just, they're more concerned about like the engagement of the audience and the creative and all that. And, I'm like, well, we got to make money here.
Yeah.
So, but like not all creators want to be business people or have that knowledge, and that's okay. And not all of them are good at it either, right? Like some of them are really good and some of them it's just not, just like I can't draw to save my life, like, right? That's fine. But for the creators that do have an interest in becoming business people or having more business acumen, we're thinking like there's a combination of digital kind of education, like masterclass type of things. But I do think because this is such a new area and things are so unique, we're envisioning what a peer-to-peer education system looks like, right? So there's there's so much nuance based off of the type of creator you are, based off of right? Because not all creators are going to make money from big brands. Like so many different types of ways you could earn. You might want to sell products. You might want to do so many different things, right? I think that there is a power in a crowdsourced methodology around the business of being a creator, just like there is in engineering. Like how like engineers leverage crowdsourcing to be able to advance a very complex job. And so I think there's an interesting model like that. We haven't cracked the code on that yet, but these are kind of some of the models. I mean, yes, we can put webinars on, but like, is that the real way you want to do it? Or is it really about like, thinking about when you see stuff like when you're on LinkedIn or on social media and you get it's like constant quick snippets of information that's interesting, that like you're just kind of constantly exposed to it, where then you just ultimately raise your education base by just the virtue of. So there's different ways of thinking about it. Haven't landed on the right answer. When I figure
One
it
thing,
out, I'll tell you.
one thing I would love to submit to you and your team as an idea, or something like I witness, is being a creator is a lonely journey. It's lonely. And so when you think about education or community building, I think it's really important to have those creators in the same room, because they can actually bond. And when I think about the best thing that happened to me in my life when it comes to opportunities, investments, it always came because I knew someone. Like it was from a friend or like someone from college. And it's just like this community building that is so important. So if you guys think about education, like please incorporate some in-person, like elements in it, because I think that is super important.
I will
especially
say,
for Black creators.
Tonje, I know you've been in Paris over there, but they've had quite a few events here in the U.S. that I've personally gone to.
Okay.
I think it was.
You want to get together with some
New
folks,
York.
Yes.
So I know you did some so I personally went to the Vegas, South by Southwest, and some stuff you did in New York. Me personally, but I think that is interesting. I would say those opportunities that you do build from at least my experience, because the type of people you bring in the room, it was very interesting, because I think something that you said that was interesting was there's a lot of stigma against Black media only attracting Black people, but the diversity that actually Black media drives, which is very interesting. And like seeing that, so I'm kind of curious of where you have these talent managers, right? And all of them, you have some of them that have diverse rosters where they can, literally, we've been those experiences, right? Where we've had to have our diverse roster, seeing ones getting higher prices than others and everything like that. And what are those things you think from your perspective of the education? Because I think that was awesome when you talked about it's more than just attracting Black, but how can they properly pitch that in terms of diversity? I feel like sometimes when it gets to that conversation of Black first, it starts to become more emotional than some people might feel uncomfortable. So what are ways of doing it where it's more come and learn, where it's because there is so much frustration. I don't want to get too much in the history, but how do you do that in a setting while also pitching that?
Yeah. So a couple things. I'll do the community piece and then latter piece, but like on the community side, one of the things, you've been to our events, Tinashe, like they're very colorful, people from everywhere, and it's a great networking. And the reason why we focus on, we have businesses that help drive equity for the Black community, but like from a creator perspective, it's for all creators, right? But we have to put special work on diverse creators because we need to help them get to level playing field, right? So it's not that we're not being exclusive. We're trying to just be inclusive, right? And get folks to the right place. So that's the first thing. And the second thing that does is it creates an environment where if you have Black creators solely learning from Black creators or talent manager, then you're not able to understand what everybody else is experiencing, right? And so it limits the learning ability there, right? So if you understand what all the other groups are making, then how they're handling business, it's just a good learning opportunity, and it's a good network as well. So you get access to different opportunities. So there's that. And like we've done things like, CES South by Southwest. We had the creator brunch at the Grammys, which was like a blowout event with tons of creators. Like we constantly show up in all those different places for that purpose.
This question, Travis, I have these thoughts, and I meet with a lot of talent managers, and those talent managers are business oriented, right? They want to help creators. Yes, they want to make money and help their creators make money.
Mm-hmm.
And because they observe the industry, they came to the same conclusion than you and your team. Like, there's not enough money going to Black creators. They're not paid the right. So ultimately, what happened? Their roster lack of Black creators, just because it's simple math. We're like, there's no money there, so we're not going, right? So now that the group Black and creator are here, just changing this paradigm. What can you say to non-Black talent managers who are not used to work with Black creators because they came up to the same conclusion than you? And what can you tell them about the new opportunity?
So some of these key stats, this is not subjective. This is not supposition. This is objective kind of empirical data. We found that that Black creators, diverse creators have an outsized impact on culture. And impact on culture is what your clients are paying for. It's pure math, right? And so when you think about growth, you should be really focused on diverse creators. That's the first thing. The second thing is beyond impact, major brands, and I spend a lot of time with most of the largest CMOs that are out there often to understand what is in their mind. Like, where is Johnson & Johnson thinking about growth? And where is Coca-Cola thinking about growth? Because historically, brands have saturated their marketing to white audiences versus diverse audiences. And this is not just Black audiences, this is multicultural. They've reached kind of like a limit with respect to how much growth they could find in traditional, when I say traditional, like their version of general market, which is usually viewed as predominantly white. If you look at where they're looking at growth, it's from multicultural. So a lot of their dollars are going into investing in strategies, whether it's with diverse owned media companies or diverse creators, because those companies and creators, while they might not have as much scale as like an NBC Universal or something else, they have an incredible amount of resonance with that community. And therefore they could influence like buying behaviors and things like that at an outsized pace than counterparts. And so brands are viewing this as a very significant growth area for which diverse minority groups have an outsized impact. And if you are just from a pure business perspective, if you're a talent manager, you need to be following the growth, and that is where the growth is.
Very clear.
So that's my point too.
No, very clear. Like, man, I'm like, okay. I'm like, and it's what I love is like what you describe is not today is the future. And as a talent manager, you're like, okay, maybe the money is kind of dry now, but like, look at the trajectory, and you better like look for amazing Black talent of diverse talent now, before it's too late.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'll even say like for those listening, I think especially when you look at talent managers, right? Talent managers are the CEOs and the COOs, right? So sometimes they do get stuck in that day-to-day constant, communication with the talent. But if you're listening to this right now, take the time, pause, and actually look at the strategy on the long-term perspective of things.
Cool. I think we
that was great. The way you ended that, I mean, that was
yeah. No, I think my drop. We're almost done, but I have like another question. So, how can people, especially talent managers, even brands, because we have some brands who are like listening to this podcast, how can they engage with either Group Black, a creator, or with yourself?
Yeah. So we're super accessible. If you're a creator, go to Creator, and there's a way to reach out to us, and we have a team that will get back. Like if you have or if you're a talent manager as well, like we love to work with. We have tons of opportunities from brands constantly that come to Creator that we try to bring to creators. Tinashe, as you know, and on the Group Black side, if you're a media company, if you're a Black-owned media company, just hit us up there, right? And it's the same.
And when it comes to technology partners, because you mentioned that Creator is a tech company, and you work with different like partners. You have your own lab, you build technology. Do you partnerships with other tech platforms? Like, how does this work?
So I would say more of the partnerships on like with tech or measurement or other media companies that are non-black owned, like all of those all those would probably be on the group black side. Do that. Creator is really just for a place for creators and talent managers. And so like everything related to kind of the work that I personally do as an entrepreneur related to creators and talent and that side is on the creator side.
Okay, perfect. Man, it was amazing. I think talent managers will email you guys, try to get to one of your amazing events in the US. By the way, if you listen to this, Travis will be in Cannes at Cannes Lions. He's invited at many conferences and be and many keynotes. So it makes sense for you guys to travel to France. Tinashe, can you conclude this episode?
Of course. And then the last thing we like to do, Travis, I guess, is if there's one person you'd say, man, this person needs to come on as a guest, who would you recommend that you think would be a really good fit for talent managers and creators to hear from?
If there was one person, oh man, you guys.
I know you know a lot of people.
I know, and then I was like, then I'm like, who bigger? Like, well, why you say me? So, if there's a person that I think is really awesome, goodness, I like one person.
You can do 3 if you want to.
Well, I think, people who I like, just I guess generally in the industry that I respect a lot. I think Caroline Wanga, the CEO of Essence, is amazing. She understands culture really well, powerful speaker, and she's in the culture for the culture, mother of the culture, and she just gets it. And so I would certainly recommend her as a person who would just be, who's running a really significant media company, who would be awesome to talk to.
Oh, perfect. We'll definitely reach out to her and leveraging your name.
Of course. Well, anyway, for everyone who's listening, that's how you have it. Thanks again for listening here on the Done Deal Show. And Travis, it was great to have you. Super excited to be releasing this episode.
Thanks, gentlemen. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you.
Bye, guys.
See ya.